And welcome to the One More Thing podcast. I'm joined today, as always, with Pastor Larry. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
So we started Practical Prescription 2.0, and I know a lot of people were just so hyped coming out of the auditorium. They were really loving and excited for this series, and I know you're really excited about it.
Yeah, it's very practical teaching, and it's kind of a spoof off going to the doctor, and he gives you a prescription, and you're supposed to go get the prescription filled or do what the prescription says. So over these next few weeks, we're really giving lessons of life as a prescription. Put this on your mirror, do this every day. I don't know if we're going to talk about how much you need to exercise or eat better, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of those things came in as we go through.
Absolutely. And I think, that's one of the interesting things about Suncoast is that it's not all theology and dissecting theology, but like, how do we create a better community? And I think that's one of these sermons that we're not just trying to teach you about the Bible or teach you about God, but we use the Bible in reference for a lot of these prescriptions, but it is also about like, how do you take care of yourself?
Correct. And I think self-care is important for us. And I think also all these biblical themes are there. We just need to pull them out and say, this is a good lesson for life. You want to be a better person? Try this. And some of the things, if they try, and people go, wow, what a difference it made in my life. Their mood shifts, their attitude gets better. And I think it helps them be a better version of them, which I think is important.
And I think that's a really good role for the church as well. I mean, we're trying to uplift and make a better community and affect lives in a really good way. And I think that's what we're doing. So you mentioned at the top of the teaching that this was kind of loosely based on Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. Mm-hmm. So the first kind of prescription was walk with your shoulders back, head up, and smile.
Right.
It seems so practical. It doesn't seem like anything revolutionary, but when you do it, you realize like, man, I slouch a lot. Right. So ever since Sunday, I've been like really trying to like keep my shoulders back, because I tend to slouch really bad. And so I've just noticed like a difference, when you're actively aware of, I should be walking with my back straight and my shoulders back and smiling, look pleasant, outside of when you have a mask on, but
I can't tell. But I think it does something for our psyche that Absolutely. When we stand with our posture up, mm-hmm. it sends a message. It sends a message not just to our psyche, but to other people. Hey, there's a person who's confident, and or they have great posture, or they feel good about themselves, or they're not going through a dismal time, because people who are beat up have a tendency to slump.
Yeah.
And that we know some in our community that, they have the Eeyore syndrome, everything is bad, nothing is good. If it weren't for the problems, I wouldn't have anything to talk about.
Right.
I used to have a lady, one of the previous pastors many years ago, starting out, she's passed away. She was a very good friend of mine, but her name was Sybil. And I'd say, Sybil, how's it going? She'd go, nobody knows. And then she'd begin to tell me that her sister came to stay with her for a week, or that, she had, the water was shut off for an hour, but just everything was a big thing that affected her mood and her posture, and the way that she walked showed it.
Yeah.
And but sometimes when people get brighter, I tell people, you smile, look at people and smile, you can change your attitude and the way you feel just by sometimes your posture.
Yeah. I love your line that says, if you're happy and you know it, tell your face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good line.
It's a great line. It's a great line.
So, but I think, we talk about people with good posture, and, your wife, my daughter, Laura, I think she
has the best posture.
She just has great posture.
Yeah.
She always stands with her shoulders back, and maybe it's because of playing the piano all those years, sitting at that bench, mm-hmm. With a slouchy posture, you can't play as well. And also, you can't sit as long.
Yeah.
So it's something uncomfortable about that. So if my posture is good, can that affect my inner psyche? Absolutely.
100%. I mean, your body is like it's almost telling your brain, like, these are the things that you're going to feel. When you do this, you're going to feel confident. You're going to feel happy. When you have a smile on your face, it's really hard to it's at least a first step. One of the things Jordan Peterson talks about in the first rule is he talks about lobsters. Which, when he first launched into this idea of like lobsters, I was like, well, where are you going with this, Peterson? But he talks about, the idea of lobsters, and obviously they're just ancient. They're so old. But when two male lobsters, get into a fight, one obviously will win, and one of them comes out of that fight more confident, and he is more likely to win the next fight. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is more likely to lose the next fight. So he walks around with more, or crawls around. I don't know what you would call lobsters, but he crawls around with more of a slump. Right. And so he takes that idea and turns it into this first, principle, walk standing straight up. Do you have any thoughts on this idea?
Well, with the lobster, I have several funny things to say.
Yeah.
One is I really prefer lobster on my plate. So it's a great thing. Lobster BLT, I like that. And badfish, there's a lot of things about lobsters I like. But I think the point that he also makes is that the confident lobster that wins the fight also gets the female lobsters.
Right.
And his life is different. The other guys, he's always trying to aspire. Mm-hmm. So part of the rule is, if you live your life with confidence, people see that, and it's an attractive feature,
right?
Which I think is important too.
Yeah.
So if you want to go around slumping and wonder, and you're single, a guy, you're single, you're slumping, why aren't the girls paying attention to you? And I think part of it is because they're not attracted to someone who has such low confidence.
Right, and I think it's even outside of just like this attraction. It's what people instantly think of you when they see you. Mm-hmm. If you see somebody walking with their shoulders slumped, you can tell instantly. It's like your brain's like, that person's going through something. Right. They have this lack of confidence. But when you do see somebody standing straight up, you're like, oh, that's a confident individual. And you kind of talked about the difference between arrogance and confidence this weekend, which I thought was a really good deciphering of the two, because a lot of times those two kind of are synonymous with each other.
Right.
So I liked that explanation of arrogance and confidence, because it is a good thing to be confident, but you don't want to be arrogant.
Right. Arrogant is when I'm superior to you, and I feel superior to you.
Right.
And here's the thing. Maybe you feel that way, but you shouldn't express that in any way.
Right.
I mean, being confident in what? Confident that I woke up this morning, life is good, I have a good family around me, I have a good community around me, my brain is functioning at a normal level. I'm confident because life is good. Mm-hmm. The sun is shining, the humidity's low. I mean, just all the things you can feel good about. But when you're arrogant, it simply is like, oh, everybody else is a peon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just beneath me. I don't have time for you. It's the very opposite, I think, of what Jesus tried to teach us.
Right.
Never once did he say be arrogant. But I think he taught us that in humility, you can still have confidence within humility. And I think those are good characteristics that make us better people.
What would you say to an individual that, they're like, Pastor Larry, I'm really trying to be confident. I'm really trying to be happy, but I have all these things going on in my life. How do I do this?
I think as we go through this practical prescription series, there are going to be answers to those questions. So I don't want to ruin the rest of the series by giving you the answer now. But I think part of it is, it's realizing that and being aware of it, and also doing things that make you better.
Yeah.
I'm going through a difficult time. I'm sick. Okay, well, you probably need to get health. You probably need to get healthy. Mm-hmm. Or let's examine your diet. Mm-hmm. Let's examine your exercise routine. What are you doing? Yeah. Are you sitting on the couch all the time watching the news? I mean, which many people did during the pandemic. It's not healthy. It's not good for their mental state, not good for their emotional state. It's really not good for spiritual. There's nothing about that, I think, that really has great benefit. I think normal routine, normal exercise. We're going to talk about this self-care soon, but I think self-care builds confidence.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those things that, you may have a bad health diagnosis, but at least do everything that you can to help yourself. And a lot of times people sink into that dark hole when they do have like a bad mental health diagnosis or a bad physical health diagnosis, and they don't do anything really to help themselves. So I think one of the things that this is going to encourage people to do is at least set yourself up for success.
No, I agree. But I was laughing because in staff meeting this week, you were telling me about an omen, a negative omen that happened. But let's put that in perspective.
Yeah.
But tell us what happened that was a bad omen.
So this weekend was a little rough on the music side. We just had a lot of things go wrong. And one of the things that happened Saturday night is our normal lead player, Lee, called out sick. So usually when that happens, it's on Chase and I to play the lead guitar parts, which is never ideal. So we're finishing up practice, and I break my bottom E string, which is the bottom string on the guitar, and there's just a saying, it's a bad omen for you to break a string right before you're about to go.
So
on.
let me ask you, did you have an extra string?
I did.
So you have an extra string.
Yeah.
You're able to put a new string on it.
Yep.
But isn't it amazing in perspective that sometimes in that moment,
Yeah.
something as, I want to say, as simple or really as fixable as breaking a guitar string,
Right.
it can throw you off your game.
Well, exactly. I mean, the 9 o'clock service, I started the song on the wrong chord. I forgot that I was in drop D, and it was just like one thing after the other. The lyrics computer crashed on us. I mean, it was...
Well, I noticed when you're up there, your shoulders are kind of slumping.
They were slumping for sure. So I needed the message this weekend because I was not the most confident up there. It's like, it's never great when you walk off stage and you're like, man, that did not go well.
But last week was Easter.
Right.
And you came off and everything just went extremely well. And the best we could have hoped it to go.
Yeah.
And every now and then you hit a bump in the road, but you get up, you replace the string.
Yep.
Keep your shoulders back and go on.
Yep, that's all you could do.
And just start off as boldly in the wrong key as you can.
That's one of those situations where you're like, I just quit. I quit as a musician. I can't even start the song on the right chord. No, and as far as like a normal weekend, we always feel really good coming off stage.
Yeah.
You know, it's always a really great time, and the community is... Our community is so gracious on when we do mess up, because we have those happen every once in a while. So, but it was a great weekend despite all the little hiccups. But overall, everybody was just so excited about this series, and they were complimentary about the music. So things are going good.
It's a good place.
Exactly.
So even when things don't go well, really, we look at it, we pull back a little bit and go, man, my life is really good. If that's what that's what really is my burden to bear this week, a broken guitar string, I have a pretty good life.
Yeah,
I mean, things are good. I mean, thank goodness your washing machine could break or something like that. That'd be horrible.
We're not even going to launch into that one.
I have a lot of inside information.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. But I think that's one of the things that you instilled in Laura really well, because she's really good about that, just pulling perspective. Like, because you get so caught up in the minutia of like, oh man, this happened. I forgot the lyrics. I started the wrong chord. But pull back. Things could always be worse.
Yeah.
And so that's always a great reminder of like, this is really, if this is the worst problem I'm dealing with today, life is good.
No, I agree.
So I'm excited for week 2, A Practical Prescription. This is going to be a great series, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you, Larry.